We all love anime here. Oh, wait, we don't? Why not? Anime is awesome! And even if you think you aren't a fan of the genre, trust me, you probably are. Don't believe me? Well, just wait till you see today's video all about how some of your favorite movies of all time have a striking resemblance to certain anime. Some are just outright copycats.
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
Did these popular films know they were ripping off anime, or was it just all one big coincidence? Let's discuss right now. Christopher Nolan's Inception helped prove that you can have a classic summer blockbuster that isn't afraid to confuse the heck out of its audience. That year when it came out, I'm sure we all got heavily invested in both The Study of Dreams as well as insane Hans Zimmer scores. Now, I don't have to send a team inside your mind to implant the idea that Inception was actually inspired by the anime Paprika. I can just tell you that outright. Unless this is the dream. Uh-oh. Anyway, Nolan has admitted that Paprika was a heavy influence on Inception, with the anime dealing with the idea of misusing dream technology and breaking into patients' minds as part of a dream therapy. There's even a trippy hallway scene. Now, does Paprika also involve an incredibly frustrating cliffhanger that is still debated to this day? Not so much. Disney's path to wholesome family film domination is built on the blood and bone of other projects. Okay, fine, maybe that's a bit extreme, but this entry is one of the most infamous examples of Hollywood ripping off anime ever. It involves the classic The Lion King and a lesser-known anime known as Kimba the White Lion. Already, you can kind of see the comparisons with the titular characters with Kimba and Simba. And if Disney had outright said they were copying it, then maybe that's a bit more acceptable, as they could just call it an homage and earn that sweet, sweet paycheck without feeling guilty. But there's a really weird narrative around the fact that animators for The Lion King swear up and down that Kimba was in no way an inspiration for The Lion King. So all those similar shots and characters were just one big coincidence, supposedly. Sure. Next, they'll say the actual plot of the movie was completely original too, and not based on a famous play by a famous playwright. As the legend goes, when pitching The Matrix, the Wachowskis went to producer Joel Silver, showed him the Ghost in the Shell anime, and said that's the movie they want to make. And although the plot is absolutely different, it's easy to see how The Matrix was inspired by this classic famous anime. Both The Matrix and Ghost in the Shell share a similar visual style, as well as the whole cyberpunk atmosphere. It's clear that The Matrix borrowed from a lot of different anime, but the Wachowskis have always made it known that Ghost in the Shell was the film's biggest inspiration. Now, isn't that sort of crazy to think about? A movie based on a popular anime that shares no similar story elements is 100 times better than the Hollywood version of Ghost in the Shell starring classic Japanese actress Scarlett Johansson. Perfect Blue is a 1997 anime film that follows a former singer who retires to pursue an acting career, but soon finds herself stalked, surrounded by gruesome murders, and slowly losing her grip on her own sanity and reality itself. 2010's Black Swan is about the competitive ballerina world, which sees a young committed dancer struggle to maintain her sanity after winning the lead role in Swan Lake. If you squint, you can kind of see the similarities between the two, but that could just be a coincidence, right? After all, director Darren Aronofsky has said he did not draw inspiration from Perfect Blue. But there's also the reports and rumors that Aronofsky bought the live-action film rights for Perfect Blue back in 2000 when he was making Requiem for a Dream in order to use some of the visual cues. If true, that makes it slightly harder to believe it was just a coincidence, doesn't it? Now, you may or may not know of the movie Dark City, but if you're a fan of The Matrix, then this is definitely worth checking out. It was released a year before The Matrix, but also deals with a dark tale of dystopian future and even used some of the same sets The Matrix would later use. The director of it, Alex Proyas, has gone on record saying the classic anime Akira was a huge inspiration for the movie, with even the climactic final battle in Dark City a direct homage to the ending of Akira. See, that's the way to copy anything. Just call it an homage and you're all set. And really, if you're a fan of both The Matrix and Dark City, then you should definitely check out Akira. I'm positive you'll like it. Look, it's kind of a big running joke at this point to make fun of Avatar for its less than original story. Yes, the visuals are fantastic enough to ensure that we'll be getting about 12 Avatar sequels starting any year now, but the actual plot of the movie left a lot to be desired. The most common complaint is that it's just ripping off Dances with Wolves. But let's not forget the anime that it seems to heavily draw from, Princess Mononoke. Quick, which movie am I referring to here? A story about environmental degradation, a strong female heroine who fights to protect the land, an outsider who comes in and changes his mind and decides to fight with the native warriors, being chosen by the elements, and then ultimately fighting against humans who want to mine something out of the ground. Yes, to be fair, it isn't the most original story to begin with, but for a movie that will always be one of the top grossing films of all time, you'd think the story would be a little more original. Neon Genesis Evangelion follows a hero who uses his mind to pilot a humongous mecha to battle giant alien monsters. So you can see why Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim is often said to have drawn heavy inspirations from that anime. To be fair, the giant mecha genre is massive in Japan, and it's safe to say that Pacific Rim draws on that entire genre. But still, its similarities with Neon Genesis are too great to ignore. Watching some of those scenes side by side, and a lot of them are almost identical. But did Neon Genesis have a character voiced by Charlie Day? I don't think so, and that's why the anime loses points, because Charlie Day just makes everything better. Atlantis: The Lost Empire came during an interesting time for Disney when they were experimenting with different art styles and some strange stories overall. It was a box office disappointment at that time, but it's much more warmly received today. But where did The Lost Empire get its inspiration from? Yes, the core of the story is Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, but also let's not forget about Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, which not only deals with a group of people who board a submarine and encounter people from Atlantis, but also deal with a blue crystal as the most important MacGuffin in the film. Yes, there are differences too, but the similarities are too hard to ignore. The idea of a space western really picked up a lot of steam in the 90s, with anime like Cowboy Bebop and Trigun developing massive popularity. But then over in the States, we got the critically beloved and canceled too soon Firefly, which eventually got an equally underperforming yet beloved movie called Serenity. But people have pointed out the similarities between Firefly and Serenity with the space western anime Outlaw Star, mainly when it comes to a certain character. Both River and Melfina share shockingly similar abilities and backstories, and their introduction scene is almost shot for shot identical. There aren't many other similarities, but this one is pretty big, so if you're missing Firefly, like we all are, go watch Outlaw Star. Van Helsing is now a name synonymous with kicking vampire butt, but that wasn't always the case. In the original source material, Van Helsing is more of an older man of science with spurts of butt kicking here and there. What changed with the character? Well, a few things. First, there was the anime Vampire Hunter D, which created a world of steampunk and magic and gave us a lead character named D, who hunted down vampires but looked awesome while doing it. Now, fast forward to Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing, and it clearly looks like the writers and production team drew from Vampire Hunter D to create this new rock and roll version of Van Helsing. Alright, I got a new idea for a movie. It's called Dragon Orbs, and we'll follow a Nyan warrior called Stop Crew as he works with his friends to collect them all. I think that has a lot of potential and has never been done before. Hollywood, give me a call.